Okay, I think we're good to start. So, once again, good morning to one and all. Hope you all are doing well. We would like to thank you for taking out your time from your busy schedule and registering it and coming up for this particular webinar. So, the initial briefing, Shivan, can you please move to the next slide? Yeah. So, to start with the objectives of this particular webinar, it is always a good move to clear out the objectives and goals of that particular webinar so that the audience will have a clear mindset on what will be the topics or modules which will be covered. And further, it is always recommended that once this webinar is completed or it is covered, everybody from the audience team, uh, especially the SOC analyst, L1, L2 or L3, they should go back and start researching over the internet how they can utilize this particular webinar session, be into informative one, and try to see what additional measures they can take into their infrastructure. So just to clear out the webinar objectives, we will be going through the a quick introduction of Zero Trust security model or the architecture. We will go through what are the traditional network security infrastructure measures or policies or procedures, what are the challenges and why there is a need of a Zero Trust architecture. We will also go through the core principles of Zero Trust security model, which Shiva will be taking care of. And then we will look into how your traditional SOC services can help implementing or maintaining the Zero Trust model wherever possible, wherever applicable, just to make sure that the entire ecosystem is safeguarded from advanced attacks, sophisticated threats, insider threats, as well as external threats. Lastly, we will have examples of few use cases on Zero Trust model and how those can be covered as a part of your day-to-day SOC operations. And the most important thing is about the return on investment. A quick introduction about ourselves first. So we are primarily into information security consulting services. So we have a team of experts, consultants who are having expertise into managed security operations, audit and compliance offerings, vulnerability assessment and pen testing services for web applications, mobile devices, and the entire infrastructure security. We have been recognized by Gartner into our BAPT and application security services twice. Along with that, one of our flagship product into mobile security, that is mobile application security testing suite. So that product has also been recognized by Gartner. We are a certain empanel IT security organization and an ISO certified organization as well. In 2018, we were recognized by the CEO magazine as the company of the year into information security consulting services. And in the year 2019, we were recognized by the Silicon Review magazine in top 30 entrepreneurs. Recently, in 2021, we have been awarded under the gold category into Cybersecurity Excellence Awards. So we are very proud to be into that category of the service providers who are having expertise into multiple domains and multiple aspects covering the entire 360 view of the corporate security of our client. Yeah. Now coming to the zero trust security or the zero trust architecture. So zero trust security is the concept which is underlined or which is more focused towards trust no one. So it is a kind of a framework which says that the organization or the corporate or the security strategy should be in such a way that though the employees are internal employees or though those are the vendors, partners, anybody who is accessing the corporate resources, be it the internal employee or the external employees or the outsiders, no, none of them should be trusted. And this trust factor, it is incorporated, it is leveraged by a lot of solutions which will be going through in later slides. So the underlying architecture or the agenda is to nobody should be trusted because of the cyber risk they possess. Uh, this architecture or this framework was initially founded or been developed by Forrester, and that is how they say that never trust, always verify. As per Forrester, they claim that trust is a vulnerability and security must be designed with a strategy to make sure that the entire ecosystem has been protected. So again, if I say about zero trust, so it says that all access to the network infrastructure or the resources should be secured and authorized, and only granted to the authorized personnel basis the knowledge, the identity the organization has. The verification process is conducted regardless of whether they are accessing the corporate resources internally, that is internal employees, or from external to the organization perimeter. Now, this framework was defined by various security industries or guidelines. Initially, it was incorporated by Forrester. Then there was one version which was released by Gartner as well under the term CARTA. So CARTA is continuous adaptive risk and trust assessment. So Gartner had come up with their own set of zero trust model, which had certain set of principles, and then it was again reformulated by NIST under the special publication of 800 and 207 framework. Recently, Google has also come up with their own set of principles wherein organizations have the leverage to utilize any sort of frameworks which are been already publicly disclosed for the betterment and how they can be best suited for their corporate ecosystem. Yes. So if you can see the architecture of zero trust security model, so starting with the zero trust network. So as I already briefed, irrespective of whether that particular resource, whether he or she is internally to the organization or external resource, uh, access should not be granted to anybody explicitly unless and until they have the authorization first, they are authenticated, and they are authenticated or they are authorized only to the resources which they are provisioned to. Next is zero trust workload. So whatever workforce, resources, assets which are hosted in the corporate security, corporate ecosystem, by leveraging certain tools in terms of authentication, network segmentation, user entity behavior analytics, SIM solutions, all the solutions incorporate, integrate together to make sure to come up with those cyber adversaries or cyber threats. That is how, if we talk about the ecosystem again, information security ecosystem or the principles of SOC, so it focuses on people, process, and technology. If you move on to the zero trust people, again, as I said, so none of the employees or none of the workforce should be trusted explicitly unless and until they have to prove themselves to the resource or to the technology. So first thing, they should be authorized. Second thing, they should have some valid credentials for the authentication. After these measures, they will be allowed access to the required resources. Last part into this architecture is zero trust devices. Again, if we talk about laptop computing or mobile devices, due to BYOD, though it has helped the employees to come up with those technologies and make their day-to-day lives easier, but it has become an overhead for the organizations to maintain the security, privacy, and data confidentiality for those devices. So MDM solutions are a kind of an alternative measure wherein the organization can have the entire visibility for the mobile devices, wherein it can be contained, wherein no corporate data can be exchanged from that particular container, and the data leakage should be avoided. Okay, since we have went through the high level technologies, so if I talk about specific technologies and the processes which can be incorporated or leveraged for a zero trust security architecture. So for the authentication and access control, we have the identity and access management solutions wherein employees they have to prove themselves first before they make any access, which is again tied to the least privileges, wherein whatever privileges have been granted by those solutions, employees should be having those privileges only to make sure that the overall attack surface has been reduced. Addition to this, we can also tie access control via multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication, wherein not only username and password, but additional methods to prove themselves like authentication token, mobile-based OTPs, and likewise should be leveraged. to cover up the endpoint security or the end devices, computing devices, next generation antivirus solution, malware solution, which are capable of detecting sophisticated threats, that too even zero-day attacks or ransomware attacks. Those solutions can be always leveraged to make sure that the end device or the end computing is also protected. On top of that, data encryption in transit, data encryption and rest will also make sure that the overall attack surface of the infrastructure is reduced. Yeah. Now coming to the traditional network security approaches, or how the traditional networks used to function and why there was a need of a zero trust kind of a security framework or architecture. So traditional network security model, they had a principle that everybody has everybody was trusted, but they just have to verify themselves. So consider an employee into corporate network, he or she is connecting to the Wi-Fi access point or to any physical Ethernet port. Once the connection has been established, they have been authorized or they have been make sure that they are a part of that particular network. And before they go for internet access or if they want to perform any such activities, they have to just authenticate themselves by inputting their usernames and password. But in this case, what flaw or what limitation it was, by default, the organization policy or the ecosystem considers that everybody is a part of this corporate ecosystem and everybody is authorized. Only thing they have to authenticate themselves to access those particular resources. On the contrary, if we talk about zero trust architecture by the help of network segmentation, they go to that level wherein even the physical ports and the wireless access connections have been restricted, and they have to log a support ticket, they have to go through change management, take prior approvals, and only then the access can be provisioned. Traditional architecture, again, it was a single entry gate or a single gateway which used to provision the required resources to all the audiences or the resources. And that is why it had the entire attack surface open for the attackers, because it is a single entry point. Your single entry point, if it gets fails, your entire communication channel gets fails. As we have briefed about, so the challenges now, uh, Shivang, you can move to next slide. Yeah. So the traditional network security approaches and the architecture, since it had all those limitations, all those flaws, wherein organizations are not ready to move to network segmentation, they are not willing to go for least privileges access. The problem with all those have been incorporated or at least been defined in the zero trust architecture, wherein it is an open-ended question to the organization to which all technologies or principles they can pull out from the various available zero trust architectures or models in today's world. So coming quickly for the need of zero trust model. So as per reports or as per survey, it says that over 80% of all attacks involve unauthorized use of credentials or exploitation of the network assets. That is why the first line of defense is your perimeter security, wherein organizations should have necessary security solutions which are protecting their perimeter security, starting from the next generation firewalls. Once the traffic is been inbound or once the user has been crossed that particular barrier of firewall or the first line of defense, additional security measures like intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention system, uh, routers and switches for necessary VLAN segregation should also be enforced. On top of that, all these log sources can be integrated or incorporated to a single SIM solution, that is security information and event management, wherein as a SOC analyst or if you talk about security operations, it will make the security analyst job easier to make sure that he or she has complete visibility on what is happening in the network, to capture all those legitimate traffic logs as well as network anomalies. Wherever required, they will get into incident response plan by making sure that relevant tickets have been logged for the IT investigation. Next slide, please, Shiva. Okay. Now talking about the principles of zero trust security model. So we are not explicitly stick to any specific model of zero trust architecture, but with our experience and with our services offerings, wherein we are offering to our customers whatever best possible architecture we could have come up with, and based on our experience and the skill set, we have come up with this kind of model, or that is why we thought of coming up with this webinar to help the entire community. Again, I would like to reiterate here is that organizations are free to leverage the best possible principle offered by n number of frameworks or zero trust architecture which you have leveraged. But somewhere something the organization should make sure either it is a service provider who is offering security services, or there are the organizations who are not willing to invest into SOC services, but still they can make sure that they are leveraging the benefits of zero trust architecture. So primarily we have divided this into four major aspects. That is, first is examination of all access requests, wherein all the access requests will be examined, that will be validated, verified, and only the authorized entities will be provided access to that, to the access which they are authorized to. Second is implementation of various preventive solutions, which will say that the tools and technologies which can be implemented in coming up with an full-fledged zero trust architecture or ecosystem. Third is real-time security monitoring, wherein the SOC will play a crucial role. And last is there are a few additional best practices which organizations can always try to leverage if in case there are any challenges into technology. I will hand over the next part of the webinar to Mr. Shivang, who will run us through the entire principles in detail. Shivang, over to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Anand. I hope I am audible.
Yes, Shivang.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So continuing from where Anand has stopped, the first principle of zero trust security model is examination of all access requests which are incoming inside the organization's network. So basically, in this model, there is no such concept such as a trusted source. Nothing is trusted. This model works based on assumption that there would be an attackers present both inside and outside the network. Therefore, every request to access the system must be authorized and authenticated. Once it is authorized and authenticated successfully, all the communication which is happening between the user and the internet network systems should be encrypted. Basically, attackers uses various attack techniques such as brute force attacks. It is very well known type of attack to gain unauthorized access of the assets which are present inside the internal network of an organization. So, to detect and mitigate this type of attacks, security analysts must take necessary steps and detect the network anomalies. The next principle is implementation of various preventive solutions. So there are various preventive solutions or mechanisms available in current market. So deploying such solutions is important to stop breaches and minimize the damage if in case any breach or cyber attacks happens. One of such solutions is multi-factor authentication, MFA. So this is very well-known type where this type of technique is used to strengthen the organization's overall security by incorporating multiple authentication schema. So there are various methods of authenticating any user account access in multiple ways. So this can also include email or text based OTP verification or a logical based exercises to access the user's credibility. So one of the best example is Google CAPTCHA. So it is one of the two-factor authentication where it authenticates or where it checks whether a user it is an actual user or it is not a bot. Implementation of identity protection and device discovery solution, which is one of the basic concept of zero trust security model, where uh, testing the users and devices before they connect to internet network is the primary objective of this model. So recording non-identities of users and devices and knowledge of their normal and expected behavior using UBA. So here user entity behavior analytics is used so that the known behavior of the existing accounts are always monitored. If anything extra happens which is not known or which is suspicious, that can be triggered as an alarm and that can be reported for further analysis. Other solutions or techniques which are included in as in preventive solutions includes least privilege allocation. This is one of the very basic security concept and an important and very important part. So allocating lowest level of privileges to users and devices to reduce the attack surface is a very important point. Most of the organizations do execute this practice, and it is always recommended to have this very fine-tuned. It also helps limiting the lateral movement of the attackers across the network after an attacker has successfully entered the network. If there are least privileges allocated, then and there are less chances of an attacker attacking the further network area of the organization. The next solution is micro-segmentation. So it is division of network into different segments to have separate access management. So different access management or verification is implemented in each and every segment of the network, so that even if an attacker has successfully cracked or has hacked any one segment of the network, it will be hard for him to access other segments of the network. So it will limit the access to other segments of the network, and the attack will be freezed towards only one segment. So SOC is equipped with tools and capabilities to detect any suspicious activities that is occurring within a network segment. So here SOC plays a very vital role. Another important principle of implementing a zero trust security model or a framework is having a real-time security monitoring. So the basic importance or basic idea of having this principle is to improve incident response in real time, especially for handling breakout time. So breakout time is a critical time when an attacker compromises first machine and initiates lateral movement for further attacks. So if you have a SOC in place, a expertise monitoring team who is continuously monitoring the network, if there is a compromise in first machine, that can be very easily detected, and once it is detected and proactive approach is applied and applicable notifications or tickets are raised with the concerned teams to stop the further attacks. So solution to implement principle of zero trust security is leveraging security operations center SOC services. So SOC services works 24/7 into 365 days a year. SOC enables real-time security monitoring. It helps in detection of user account compromise, system hacks, and attackers' lateral movement across network. It also helps to detect and protect from other cyber risks. So Security Operations Center uses security information and event management and high-level SIM solution to detect various attacks and events such as brute force attack, that is multiple login attempt failure, or we can say multiple attempts to gain access to any system. Second is unauthorized user account creation, deletion of any account, or if there is any changes or modifications in the existing permission of the existing account. Third is unauthorized connection, request and attempts, then unauthorized configuration changes within the network. It also detects attackers' lateral movement across network, as we have discussed. So it can detect sophisticated attack patterns by correlating different events and different types of movements which are happening within the network. and it can accordingly come out with the best solution or a best result, which says that whether it is an actual attack, it is a false positive or a true positive attack. And the last is it also helps in detection of unusual and suspicious activities. So security operations role in zero trust architecture. This is an architecture, high level architecture where it's an example of a single organization where a SOC is implemented and how a SOC has a wide visibility towards the organization's infrastructure. So there are various points mentioned here. First is authentication and authorization. As we have discussed, it is for monitoring of users for privilege escalation related attacks. Second is real-time SOC operations, which is a security operations center where consultants are monitoring in real time to detect any cyber attacks which are ongoing. Next is secure managed network. It is in parameter and network device security. If any unauthorized access is or unauthorized request has been coming from any attacker or any source to access the network devices, then that will be very easily detected by the SOC team, and accordingly that can be reported. Next is email and web security. If any employee has received any email, any suspicious email, uh, where there is where an employee has a doubt whether he should click on that particular email or not, then in such scenarios, SOC team can assist them in resolving that queries. And also there are advanced technologies and automation tools which detects the phishing email to be specific, which comes into the user's email box. So it detects before only and it alerts the monitoring team. Next is endpoint security, that is endpoint threat detection and response. We can say EDR solutions, which is one of the basic point where each and every individual system of the organization is secured with an advanced endpoint protection solution. There are many advanced solutions, improved endpoint protection solutions available currently in the market that can be incorporated or that can be implemented in the organization for a better security. Next is network anomalies and monitoring. So it is in monitoring and alerting of suspicious pattern within the network, as we have discussed. Next is user entity behavior analytics, UBA, that is defense against insider threats, to detect if there is any unwanted or suspicious activity which is an abnormal behavior which is understood by an SIM solution, that is detected and that can be reported to the applicable actioning team. Next is anti-malware protection. It is again similar concept, which is meant for protecting against advanced threats and advanced malwares. Next is threat detection and response, that is threat hunting and intelligence. So basically it protects from the insider threats which is happening within the organization and from the threats which are coming from outside of the network firewall of the or the network of the organization. And next is security incident management. So there is a defined SLA within which the monitoring team or a SOC team reports for any suspicious or malicious activities. So this is an high level architecture where it's an best example of showing an organization having an implementing a SOC and how it can help in achieving the zero trust architecture. The next principle is additional security practices. So first three principles were specific to certain objectives. The last principle which we have mentioned here, it is additional few other security practices, which includes defining of cybersecurity goals and objectives aligned with organization's objectives. Next is defining a robust incident response, business continuity, and recovery plan in case there is any successful breach that has already happened within an organization. So an organization should have a very solid, we can say, a plan, a business recovery and continuity plan, so that if in case there is any successful cyber attack that has happened within an organization, the company will be restored very quickly without impacting its services. Next is periodically getting the network security architecture reviewed by the expert security teams. So it is a very important point where the architecture, network architecture of the organization should be reviewed. It should have a secure architecture so that there is no vulnerability or an entry point for an external attackers or threat actors to enter into the organization's network. Next is implementation of advanced security solutions, that is EDR, XDR, then next generation antivirus, which we have just discussed, and SOAR solutions, and many other such solutions that can be implemented within an organization to achieve the zero trust objective. Next is periodically security patch management activities and vulnerability assessment and penetration testing activities. So these are some of the additional security practices that should be incorporated within an organization to achieve a zero trust environment. So how zero trust model and SOC helps in securing businesses? So these are some of the 6 major points how it can secure the business. First is it will reduce the time to breach detection. It will quickly detect any breach which is happening, and accordingly, once it is very important to first detect the breach. It is very risky if breach is happening within a network and the organization is not aware about it. So if a SOC is implemented within an organization, then this type of breaches will be quickly identified, and once it is identified, then applicable action items can be taken, actions can be taken to stop that breach and secure the organization. Next is it protects, it can protect customers' data, therefore it will protect your business. So there are many organizations who have linked or who have their own customers, and they have the data of their customers inside their servers or their devices. So protecting that data is also important to protect our business. Next is security orchestration and automation. So this is again an advanced level of SIEM techniques that can be implemented within an organization to automate the incident response, minimize the response and dwell time, and streamlining workflow processes. The fourth point is tracking unusual activities from valid accounts. So these are valid accounts, but as we discussed previously, there can be some abnormal activities which are never seen before with that particular account. So here you can have a user behavior analytics methodologies which comes with SIEM, with modern SIEM solutions to detect this type of suspicious activities and report accordingly. The fifth point is detect unauthorized access requests. It includes multiple login failure events. It can be easily recorded, and it also records unauthorized new account creation or update in existing accounts. This can be very easily tracked. The sixth point is reducing attack surface. So it also helps in reducing the risk of cyber attacks, next generation cyber attacks, and most importantly, it helps in maintaining the confidentiality, integrity, and availability posture of an organization. So these are some of the 6 high-level points where a SOC and zero trust model can help in securing the business. So coming to next part, there is a use case. This particular slide, this diagram, it represents how a basic authentication process happens in an zero trust implemented environment. So this is a best example to give in as per the current situation where all the employees are working from home currently. So, and all the organizations are having VPN connectivity to access the internal network. But in current era of advanced attacks and threats, just having a VPN authentication is not enough. So this is the reason why we also have a zero trust concept to be implemented for a better security. Coming to this diagram, here we can see a user who is trying to access the internal assets of the organization. First, it conducts the VPN authentication. Next process is firewall authentication, where firewall authenticates the connection request from the user. Then next is Active Directory authentication, where the user account credentials are cross-verified with the existing employees' records, and accordingly the access is granted. So once this all this steps happens, then they gain the access to access management solutions. So the basic purpose of implementing a zero trust model is that even if an employee has or any person has gained access within the organization, he or she will not have access to other servers or systems unless and until it accesses the access management solution. So here, access management solution is a solution which is used to define what permissions and what kind of accesses that particular user should have. So the user, after it enters the organization's network, it will only have access to those assets to which he or she is permissible. So this is the diagram which represents the same. Coming to next slide, this is here it's an example of two use cases. First is user account activity during non-working hours. So it is important that employees follow official working hours timelines and request access to internal assets within that timeline only. So suppose, for example, the typical working hours are 9 to 6. If there is any HR person who is trying to access the internal servers, internal network at 12 a.m. At 11 p.m. at night. So this is one of the example where it is suspicious why that particular user is trying to access the internal network at this time where it is not authorized to. So this is one of the use case where having a security operations center monitoring team who is monitoring the access control, it can very easily detect that an user account has accessed in on unofficial time. So accordingly, that can be reported, that can be analyzed further, and applicable actions can be taken. Second use case is user account trying to access unauthorized servers. As we said previously, even if a person or any entity has gotten entry to the network, it do not have access to other servers and systems to which it should not be accessing. So SOC observes and reports suspicious activities of the user accounts that are trying to make unauthorized connections, especially to any very important servers or critical servers or top secret servers that are having sensitive information within it. If any unauthorized person, though he is an valid employee of an organization, is trying to access such important servers, he or she should not be able to access that. And if they are trying to access, then this is something suspicious and that should be analyzed further. So it is to check whether the adversary is trying to access any confidential data or sensitive resources within the organization. Return on investment of implementing an zero trust along with SOC, that is to gain greater visibility across the enterprise's security posture. Second is secure a remote workforce and improve data protection by leveraging these advanced solutions and having a security expert team in place. Then to streamline user and device access management and detect unauthorized access attempts, as we have just discussed. Then real-time security operations via SIEM solutions to inspect and analyze all network traffic logs and data, file integrity monitoring, threat hunting, and threat intelligence, and advanced UBA and machine learning techniques to detect new and emerging threats. So this is a high level return on investment points, where these are the major benefits or advantages of implementing a zero trust model along with security operations center as a services within an organization premises, which overall improves the security of the organizations and help secure the business. For more information, I request my audience to visit our website, that is www.varotra.com, and they can also visit www.infosharesystems.com for more information. So now I request audience, if you have any questions, you can let us know. We are happy to address you.
Thank you, Shivang, for such a wonderful briefing. Let us wait for any questions if they have, or else we will conclude for this webinar.
Okay.
No questions from the audience?
No, sir.
Okay, so Shivang, before we conclude for the day, I would like to summarize the entire webinar in few key points in the form of key takeaways, so that our attendees can, gain some additional highlights on the same. So, to the entire audience, few key takeaways, or just to summarize the entire webinar into key angles or areas of interest, I would like to say that zero trust architecture or model, it requires an ongoing effort. So it is not a one-time activity wherein a solution is deployed and it can be utilized for a longer duration of time. So it is not a solution as such, but it is a kind of a principle or a protocol which needs to be evaluated over the time and make sure that whatever technology assets are being incorporated or integrated into the organizational security, those should be aligned with the cybersecurity goals and objectives or the strategy which the organization defines. So it requires continuous evaluation and ongoing efforts to make sure that the architecture or the framework comes to a mature state. Second thing, organizations who are planning to deploy it into their organizational ecosystem, they should start by the design. What is it that they want to protect? What are the sites they want to protect? How their assets have been segregated across geolocations? Where is the employee workforce? How they are connecting it? So if they start building by design, they will get to know whether they have relevant tools and technologies available for protection of those assets, and ultimately making sure that they are safeguarding the critical infrastructure from the cyber adversaries. The third thing is that zero trust model mostly focuses on breach protection, or in terms of breach detection and response, wherein if there is a compromise of any one asset into the ecosystem or the corporate network, by implementing zero trust architecture, at least it will make sure that your second segment of the network infrastructure, be it your VLANs or your critical resources, at least those are not compromised. And that too, ultimately, the organization itself is protected just by letting the compromise happen or limited to that particular asset. Though a compromise is again a different aspect, which we will not discuss on this part. And the last part is about zero trust architecture mostly focuses on role-based access control, that is your RBAC, wherein as Shivang has rightly briefed about the required access privileges and access control by leveraging various available solutions and technologies to make sure that first thing, you have to prove who you are from where you are coming. Second thing, you have to get authenticated by available measures along with your username and password with two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. And third thing, you will be allowed or you will be authorized to use the resources which you have been provisioned with. On top of that, organizations should also make sure that security operations is coming into picture. That is why if we are deploying these solutions and if they are not integrated into SOC operations or not incorporated under SIM monitoring, there is no point in utilizing these solutions. Ultimately, those solutions will be working independently, and the organization will require an additional IT strength or workforce to make sure that there is somebody who is monitoring all the solutions independently. So there is where our SOC expertise will come into picture, wherein we will integrate and incorporate or onboard all these technology and solutions into our same technology. And by proper use cases and rules correlation, we'll make sure that our services offering are being up to the mark, wherein as per the client expectations, making sure that their cybersecurity goals and strategies are achieved. So this is what I will summarize before we conclude for the day. And if you have any queries apart from this session, everybody is free to send their queries to the email wherein you have received the webinar meeting link. So myself and Shivang, we would like to thank each and every one of you for taking time from your busy schedule and attending this particular webinar and making it as an fruitful session to each and everyone. So with this, I conclude for this webinar. Thank you everyone. Bye. Take care. Hope to see you soon again in next webinar.